that requires improvement. I mean, it's 12 months. You'd agree with me that a review on performance, I mean, any organization that is serious about its success, it does that. And you do so not to reshuffle anybody or to remove anybody. You do so that there's a collective, agreement that this is where we are, and we actually need to improve. So those are some of the dynamics really of the coalition, and we're hoping that some of the conversations that are happening in higher structures at the level of the province and so forth will actually be responsive to some of the report that we've put forward.
Let's look at your top two priority areas. You spoke about repairs and maintenance of infrastructure. Maybe that and what else have you been able to do? Because you announced that when you during your State of the City address, what progress have you made on at least 2 or 3 top priority areas before we go to the calls?
Well, I mean, we are happy that we've been able to put up a system that tracks, the service delivery, what we call a war room. And it is just to ensure that the issues that are raised by communities, we don't leave them to the depot managers on the ground. We actually elevate them and we look at them, weekly. And that actually works because if you report, a sewer blockage today, communities, they are happy that the mayor actually has got a system to look at that sewer blockage, look at the timelines. Importantly, is that there's a sewer blockage that needs to be reported, but also what are the service standards? What time does it take you to turn around at the tide? And I'm happy because, from one quarter to the other, there've been significant improvements, including just confidence on that system. Call center as a platform, there's drop calls, there's all those other experiences. It's also costly for an old lady in Solopile, in Winnie Mandela, who doesn't have a data and so forth, who must call, hold on and so forth, to actually have that system working for that community as well, to ensure that the walk-in centers, those issues that are experienced or service delivery breakdown that are experienced by communities are actually recorded, they're elevated to the mayor's table. And I think that goes a long way. And also we've restored the izimbizos and community meetings, because it's important that we go to communities, we engage with them, because if we do not do that, you are not able to have a 360 type of assurance that which has been reported, that has before you is actually been resolved. So I think that is one area that I want to highlight. And we can actually see, if you go to the areas of energy, areas of water, you actually see the improvement of the utilization of the platform. And we can actually see the improvement in terms of, the service delivery deliverables. One of the areas that we're focusing on now is the finances of the city, to actually turn them around. Because one of the areas that we have actually picked up, you might have heard of the 2 billion
that's unaccounted
rand shortfall because of the systems that were deployed. And those systems were deployed in a year before my leadership. We've been able to detect and actually prefer consequence management. And you'll agree with me, in a long time, it has not happened in the municipalities where we prefer consequences. It's a highly regulated area, in particular on senior managers, because as a mayor, you sit, you then prefer, you must still go to council and get council to agree. And you'll agree with me, in a council of coalition where you do not have, so you have to tread carefully to actually get council to actually support that decision. And I think we have begun now to turn around the tide. From quarter 1, the 2 billion, we've taken it down to about 587 in quarter 2. In the third quarter, that's about 416 million rands. So you'll agree with me that there's been a huge intervention in that area. And that is going to go a long way to turn around, the speed within which we attend to services.
Can you help our listeners understand this 2 billion rand shortfall you're speaking about? How did that come about? Are we talking here about households or businesses that had their electricity meters tampered with?
We're talking a system that has been designed, deployed to the environment largely for business, large power users. Those are businesses. And what we're investigating now is, the extent of, because there's clearing, tampering. There's other areas that are, what we call it, inefficient, or no meter, reading. Maybe let me just simplify it. You deploy a system. The system is supposed to read remotely, meters. If you consume here at 702, somewhere in the city of Johannesburg, in the offices, they're actually monitoring your consumption, and they read that consumption monthly. So if the system is not picking up that what we are consuming, that's one area of a lapse, of a leak. The second area of a leak is where you've actually picked up, you've read the meter, but you've actually not billed it. For whatever reasons in the, what do you call it, effectiveness in the entire value chain of the system performance. So that is where our major issue is. There's been tampering. There's been a deletion of certain accounts. The entire account, 702 account, gets deleted. Clearing is beyond mismanagement.
Sounds like corruption.
We've preferred mismanagement on the charges, but we've commissioned a forensic investigation to actually look deeper into the matter.
What about the city officials who allowed this to happen? Has action been taken against them?
We've now suspended the head of ICT. We've preferred precautionary suspension because the regulation says you have got 30 days or you've got the first 7 days to actually ask the critical question. Sorry, why must we not suspend you? The official must respond. Then we have another 30 days to actually commission a preliminary investigation so that you then go to council and say there is now prima facie evidence and all that. But we have impressed upon HR to look into other, officials who are not necessarily accountable to council and ensure that there's consequences. So we think that's a major issue. Because if that issue was lying there undetected and nothing done, and nothing done about it, it's got a serious impact on the sustainability of us giving service. Whether it's a pothole, to close a pothole, you need resources. To cut the grass, you need resources. If we're paying to Eskom 2 billion, but we're not recovering that 2 billion, it's got a huge impact on our ability to continue to discharge.
All right, I'm going to ask you to put on the headphones, Mayor. We're going to go to the calls now. 011-883-0702. We're hosting the Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, this morning. What questions do you have? What concerns do you have? Do you live in and around the city of Ekurhuleni? What have you picked up that's working? What have you picked up that's not working? Let's start with you, Roy. You are calling us from Norton Park. Good morning.
Morning, Clement, and morning to the Mayor.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, Clement, I've got 3 issues, man. One you've spoken about it. The first one, let me maybe start up by congratulating the Mayor. Before he came, there was a lot of illegal dumping, and our dustbins were not picked up on every day that you are scheduled to. And that has improved, at least since he took over. But my 3 questions is, one, when he took over, he has counted that DA came in and the other party that led So there were a lot of things that were reversed. What means are they doing to actually, like, indigents, your old people that they actually used to get indigent and other things? That's one. The second one, he has just spoken about the system, the billing and other stuff. There's one big problem in the city. When you go to the system, and revenue collection is the problem for all municipalities, but in Ekurhuleni they've got something called Siyakhokha. And in that system, it's not meshed, it's not linked to the Triple C where we pay our accounts. Okay. If you go to Siyakhokha today, it gives you something different. If you go to the Triple C, it's giving you something different. What is the mayor saying about that? Okay. Thirdly, the premier of the province has just spoken about something on Saturday about putting cameras all over in Gauteng, even in the Ekurhuleni. How are they going to then try and accommodate and link up with what the premier is putting in terms of the surveillance cameras, so that because crime is rife all over this the city of Ekurhuleni?
All right, Roy, I got you. Roy in Norton Park. Mayor, let's deal with that, and then we'll quickly go to the next question.
No, thank you very much, Roy. And I think let's appreciate the positive reviews in terms of the waste collection. And indeed, at some point, just around collection, door to door, they were not working. And you'll agree with me, if communities are taking out their bins according to their schedule, that on Tuesday, my bin is going to be collected. And if it's not collected and there is no means to actually catch up, it becomes a problem. But we know, for the longest time now, there's not been, days except where there is issues of weather. We've built capacity, we've bought new trucks and all that to ensure that we're responsive. One of the areas that we need to perfect is landfill sites. We don't have enough land to actually dispose waste. It remains a risk because you have to take waste from Tembisa and go as far as Springs to dispose that waste. It's actually not economical because the truck spends a lot of time on the road instead of focusing on the actual collection. The issue of social packages to indigent, Ekurhuleni, 80% of Ekurhuleni is made out of townships, and in the main, those are historically disadvantaged areas, and the packages for indigents that were actually taken away, created a lot of problems. Tembisa banned. There was because of some of these social packages, we've been able to turn around and actually build, some of the responsive programs. The debt rehabilitation, it's been very robust. It's quiet now because Tembisa is one of the townships that is actually paying, and across, including our suburbia, we've increased the threshold in terms of what we deem as an indigent. It's not just the property values that are in the township, where we've moved to from 150 to about 500,000, 500,000. And you'll agree with me, majority of our communities are able to come through in that bracket, including in suburbs. We've taken it up to about 1.5, which now enables many of our households in the communities of Northern Park, of Beachley, to actually benefit. Other areas that we're still looking at is the human settlements projects. We've got over 9 human settlements mega project that came to a standstill since 2021. We're focusing on those. We've added capacity in the department now of human settlements. We've just employed the HOD who is knowledgeable, who should be able to resolve some of the teething problems sitting at between national and province. Now the issue of the Siyakhokha and some of the misalignment, it's a system issue. These are some of the things that we're looking at. Some of the lapse that has happened in the department, within the ICT department, and we're looking at those to ensure that our communities, they've got the right information, credible information when they go to pay, what they have, on the system is actually what is reflecting on their accounts. The issue of the safe city. Was supporting the safe city. If budget permits, we should be able to aggressively, also participate, because it's not just crime. There's huge vandalism of our infrastructure, from the theft of our electrical cables, which causes huge inconvenience. If you look at our street lights, there's huge tampering from vagrants, who are tampering, to what we view as syndicates, who are actually tampering with our electrical infrastructure, our substations, the traffic lights, our robots and all that. So we believe that with the deployment of cameras backed by a responsive team, because you also need to invest in the human component, so that as you pick up, as the signal are indicating tampering, you actually are able to respond on time and make the necessary arrest.
Okay, we'll stop it there for now, Mayor, but there are a number of people that are raising questions around the issue of crime, so I'll give you an opportunity to expand more on that. It's 10:33.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
7:02.
22 minutes before 11 o'clock. We're in conversation this hour with the Mayor of Ekurhuleni, Nkosindiphile Xhakaza, and we are taking your calls on 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Let's go straight to those calls and start with you, Basika, who's calling us from False Loras. Basika, hi.
And to the mayor.
Hey, Sada.
I've got a number of issues and questions that I will put forward to.
All right, can you give me two, Basika? Quickly, two, yeah?
Okay.
Because I've got a lot of calls I want to take, yeah? Just two quickly.
Okay. The most important one is that for Soros Extension 2, we haven't had water from around the 20th of March. Communication has been dismal from the municipality, in that communication has only been through social media. And when you complain on those social media pages, which is Twitter, you get blocked. I have, in the past, through TD's handle, raised the questions. The mayor has done nothing. On top of that, Bedfordville had the same issue. The mayor was there. The mayor gave it attention. We, on the other hand, haven't been given attention. And this creates an impression that we are second-class citizens. People that live in affluent areas are first-class citizens. And because of the fact that maybe they threaten them that they're going to take this to the courts, that's the reason why they give
What's
them
your area again, Basika? Oslo, and then you haven't had water since there.
Yeah, we have water trucks. The trucks do what they have to do, but being without water for such a long time.
What's the date?
I put him, Vegas.
What's the date? When was the last time you had water?
If my memory is correct, around about the 20th of March.
20th of March. Okay, let me get the mayor to respond to that. What was your second issue again?
Second issue is grass.
Okay.
Open space areas. They are not being maintained. When I say maintained, I mean that they cannot cut them. They are not being cut. It's difficult to drive. From a safety risk, it just creates a whole lot of nightmare for a whole lot of people, taking into account that metropolis visibility is something else in the location. It doesn't exist. It only exists when they want the Jojo. That's it.
Okay. Basika, in False Loras, thank you so much for your questions, Mayor.
No, thank you very much. I think maybe let's correct the I would say it's a myth, because we are servicing all our communities across Ekurhuleni, not just in Bedfordview. The Izimbizos, they've been consistent throughout, but we also have what we call mayoral outreach programs. Every Fridays, we go to different areas, and we've been to False Loras 2 times already, where we've attended to a number of issues. The Human Settlements Project, just as you enter False Loras, we've been there to unlock and fast-track it. We've dealt with issues of potholes. We've visited some of the clinics. We've been to Villa Lisa, including the issue of the water challenges. The reservoir, the newly built reservoir, has actually been leaking. And we are busy fixing up, that leak. there has been a communication in this regard. The target date was the 30th of March initially, but the technicians, because you have to seal one area, but I think there's other challenges. So it has since been reviewed until end of June. So we must just strengthen communication to that community. And we have deployed members of the mayoral committee. The MMC of Roads and Transport has been deployed to service the area of phosphorus to ensure that there is a regular interface with communities, that what councillors they do hold their community meetings so that they update communities about what is happening. But we will then strengthen that communication to ensure that there is a progress update in relation to that water. But what we are comforted is that there is an intervention. The regular trucks are actually available to ensure that there is no cut-off of water to that community. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other issue is the cuts, what we call it, grass cutting. We have experienced a lot of rains. I think it went beyond. We normally budget that until about end of February. You start to see a bit of what we call it, a stop off in terms of rains. But this time around, this year, it has gone beyond. Clement, you will agree with me, even this weekend, it was raining. So what it means is that we must then tighten up some of our budget instead of cutting certain areas, once per month. We must then budget for more, to actually have twice intervals, in a month. But we must agree that there's also been some delays in terms of building a capacity, onboarding some of the service providers to actually assist us to cut certain areas. So we must fast track that process. But one of the things that we've emphasized going forward is that we must now build internal capacity in this area so that we don't have a reliance on the service providers. Because if you're on board people, you employ more people, you need, it's a less technical in terms of skill requirement area. You need bush cutters, you need those machinery and PPE to actually get that services done by us internally. Yeah.
All right, let's hit some more questions. Please be quick with your questions. I'll ask the mayor to also try be quick with the responses because I'm trying to get through to as many questions as we can. Tubatse, you're calling us from Germiston. What's your question? Good morning. Hi, Tubatse.
Morning. How are you doing?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. Mayor, I just want to mention the issues of Germiston South regarding electricity. I don't know if you're aware, but the residents of Leondale, Ruodekop, suffer weekly with energy outages. We've had engagement with your MMC Ngwenya, who has committed to help us, but today we're still suffering. I'm telling you that last week we said 6 days without electricity, and today we woke up again without electricity. The issues have been continued since 2017. There seems to be no commitment from this municipality to help us. And I would like for you to please address that. And they tell us the issues sit at Second Input Wadeville Station. If you could please.
All right, lovely. Kutubata, thank you for that. Maria, you are in East Rand. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Sure. Go ahead.
So the question I have for the mayor, I have two questions, quick ones. The sinkhole that has collapsed, or there's a sinkhole on the major route on Rondeport Road that has been there since probably 3 years ago. Nothing has happened with that infrastructure for repairing. It is a major route to the airport, etc., and causes traffic issues. What is the status of that? Because we haven't had any feedback. And the second thing is, the mayor did touch on it earlier regarding the resourcing for doing maintenance on gardens, etc., and parks and recreation, cutting of the grass, etc. The last time I saw anybody from the municipality cutting grass was probably 3 years ago. Communities have taken upon themselves to actually do their maintenance that is opposite their houses, because it obviously devalues the prices of houses, etc., and even the graveyards and things like that have not been cut. So the resourcing issue that you're speaking to, Mayor, is that related to funding, or is that related to people actually not being available, because there are so many people who are homeless and jobless that can actually fill those positions at a lower wage?
Absolutely, Maria. Great point there. Thank you so much for that. Dineo and John, I'll come to you in a moment, Mayor.
Yeah, no. Starting with the issues around the electricity provision in Germiston South, Rodekop and the nearby areas, it's a major problem, Clement. And I think from time to time, that community resorts to closing the entry highway, and it's got to do with overload. It's got to do with when we talk about third-party interference, people who are overloading our system. Every house in Rodekop, they've actually extended their houses without following any municipal plan. So what it means is that people, they build backyard, rooms, what we call backyard dwellers for income purposes, known as ama room, allocation. So, and if you don't go through a municipal plan, the municipality is not able to ensure that there's proper capacity to supply that area, and this causes a lot of trips on the transformers. It causes a lot of overload. It does not just affect that area, the areas of Pumula and all that. They actually get affected. We are tightening up our bleeds. We must also strengthen our hand to actually get communities to comply in terms of bylaw enforcement. Of course, it puts up a fight, because communities, they organize, they protest, they march, they do all these sorts of things. But it must be understood that it's not just us as government. We need cooperation from those communities to ensure that they are actually compliant. They don't connect illegally into the system to cause some of these overloads. The areas of Wadeville, we have now finalized the construction of the substation called the second input. We are now finalizing the cable. We must just say, in order to connect, to upgrade those cables that connect those communities, including the business communities of Wadeville. There are major investments there that we're trying to protect. Henneken, for instance, they operate 24 hours. Some of the products that they produce serve in international markets. They produce amarula, they produce savannah, and all that. Some of the outages that we experienced in December, it's one thing that we want to turn around, because we must protect that investment. We're protecting jobs and all that. The sinkhole in Rondebelt is a major headache. I must put it before yourself. And honestly, we do not have the money at this point in time. It needs at least 150 million rands. That's about all our roads budget for construction of new roads. And this is as a result of Zamazamas, illegal miners who are actually mining underneath Boksburg, underneath Germiston. And that causes a lot of inconvenience, because R21 connects, via the airport. It actually relieves Kalulis, because it connects all the way to the lower south of Vosloorus. And if that major connectivity is impacted, the manner in which it is impacted, it's a huge inconvenience for the local economy. We have, shared some of this difficulty with the province to look at the issues of disaster. If some of the disaster budget and intervention can actually assist us. Okay. Otherwise, we'll have to, for a financial year, stop building a new road, channel all the money to this area. And I'm sure it's one of the things that we will have to consider because the impact of that road in the mobility and the economic activities of around Boksburg, Germiston, is actually quite severe. The issues of it's actually resources. We've advertised recently, and HR has advertised, and we're expecting them to finalize an uptake of about more than 200 teams who are going to do grass cutting. There is an interesting development that we're studying, because as a result of the the 2 point where people can take up some of the monies and all that. There's been a number of resignations that are not explained.
Is this in the city?
In the city.
The two-pot system?
In the two-pot system. So we're studying, we've asked HR to study that, to look at the interviews, the exit interviews that they've done, to actually understand what could have been some of the contributions that led to some of these resignations. Okay. But we're building up those teams to actually ensure that we've got capacity to...
Okay. Yeah, John, you're in Davidton. Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, 2 questions. The other one, you tried to talk about it. It's about, I think the mayor knows the place in Davidton called Cloverdale.
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 Okay.
It's the capital city of illegal mining.
Mm-hmm.
I stay around Davidton and I work around Davidton. It's N12 that goes to Mpumalanga. They always cross there. They go to the township where people see them, but the police are not doing anything. As a former principal, I even hear students or young people saying their profession, they want to do that because they seem to be role models. They see them, making easy money, mingling with the people. But where are the policemen? And really, do you need intelligence to know that these things is happening? I heard you saying part of the state was as a result of the government. But what are we doing? Because there was a time when I thought the government is on top of this problem. But now it's mushrooming again. It will need a lot of research, money to deal with them. They are roaming around the street, crossing highways during daylight. I'm saying there's no police, there's nobody in government who says that this thing is mushrooming. Number 2, as a former principal, I have got students who have been doing architect. I wonder whether Ekurhuleni has got plans and future for architects, young people who are architects. And we find wrong people doing jobs that require such skills, but that those that with those skills, is there a future for this profession, Mayor? What do you have? They don't even know where to go because I think you don't need them.
Yeah, no, got it. John in Davidton, Mayor.
Yeah, I think we sit with this thing of illegal mining and zamazamas. It's a huge headache for us as a city government. It's a huge headache for communities. Certain corridors, it becomes very difficult. I mean, if you part Fontaine of Ramp, there's a lot of crime that gets committed. People are losing lives, in those areas. Our capacity in the EMPD, it's not sufficient to actually deal with these issues of zamazamas. They are heavily armed, because you agree with me, EMPD, part of the scope is to deal with traffic violation, is to deal with biolaw enforcement. We've got a component that deals with crime, but those are not big teams that can actually look at the issues of zamazamas. We know that there's SAPS that is working. There's deployment of the army in certain sections. We'll have to also just look at that topic, Clement, alone, to actually have a conversation. We'll have to pull up some of the reports to get a proper briefing on what is actually happening there. But it causes huge inconvenience. Cloverdale, N12, some of the informal settlements that are there. So So it remains a headache. We are focused on skills development and skills and capability development, and this is part of the overall growth and development strategy of the city. When we talk about economic development, we also have to ensure that we look at the skills profiling of our communities and ensure that we do our part. So we do that, from mobilizing for bursaries, which is, an area that we've been doing so well since 2016. But when budget permits, we want to put money there. We've hosted the golf to fundraise with the businesses. We are looking at the various intervention in terms of internships and learnerships. The presidential employment stimulus, we're placing a number of young people inside our departments, but we're also calling for the private sector to place a number of young people. So there's various intervention and partnership together with the Ekurhuleni Skills College, where we're actually taking up young people who want to do artisans and all that. The call for university still remains. So there's a comprehensive strategy that we're responding in terms of skilling, believing that we are a city in Gauteng and there's a great expectation to contribute in our economy and yeah.
All right, Mayor, let me thank you for coming through to account to your boss, the people in Ekurhuleni. We'll have you back hopefully in about 4 or 5 months just to get an update on how those service delivery issues you're still focusing on are going. Thank you so much for making time for us.
We're appreciating the opportunity, Clement.
Yeah, that's the Mayor of Ekurhuleni. It's a minute now before 11 o'clock.